Good morning, good afternoon to everybody. Welcome to a new webinar from our series under the BCH uh, capacity building project. Today we will talk about how to use the BCH, the Biosafety Clearinghouse Management Center, for managing the National Authorized Users in the BCH Central Portal. I think that most of you already know me. I'm Ernesto Ocampo. I'm a biosafety clearinghouse specialist working mainly for Latin America and the Caribbean, coordinating the BCH project in this region, and also in charge of developing and publishing all the BCH education materials that we have available. I have been a member of the committee for advising the BCH since 2006 and have organized several national, regional and global BCH training workshops and conferences. Before starting with the subject, I would like you to remember how will you see your screens and what are the controls that you have for this webinar. On the left side of your screen you will see the presenter screen, my screen, and on the right side you will see your control panel, the attendant control panel. It is important to see that this control panel will collapse automatically when not in use by the attendee. In order to keep it open, if you don't want it to close, you can go to the control panel menu view, and then you can uncheck the option that says how to hide the control panel. More about the control panel. On the left side of the control panel you have the quick bar, and there are some little icons and buttons. The first one is a white arrow over an orange background. With this arrow you can collapse or expand the control panel. For example, if you want to see your entire screen, you can collapse your control panel with the arrow. And then a very important button is the one that for raising your hand. This is the last button in the bar. When you press that, I can see it in my control panel and I can give you the floor. So please, if you have any questions, you just raise your hand and I will give you the floor. By default, all the microphones for the attendees are muted because there may be many attendees, but I can open the microphone for anyone upon request. This webinar will be recorded and we will put it online as part of the BCH education materials later. No concepts expressed here by the participants are in any means the concepts of the CDD. If you want any specific advice about the Cartagena protocol or the biosafety clearinghouse, it is the correct institution to do that is the Secretariat of the Convention of Biological Diversity. In your control panel you will see there is a little red light at the bottom that it indicates when the session is being recorded. Okay, what are we going to see today? First, we will talk very briefly about the context for these training activities, that is the UNEP GF BCH2 project, capacity building project. Then we will briefly talk about registering information in the biosafety clearinghouse and what is the national focal point for BCH role. Then we will see what are the national authorized users, where can we find detailed guidelines for the focal points about how to manage the authorized users using the BCH, and we'll go straight to a demonstration about how to create and manage NAUs and see also how is the flow of information between NAUs and NFP. Finally, we'll go for a question and answer session. We strongly recommend that you write down your questions in your questions pane, and also you raise your hands in order to get the microphone and address the floor. Regarding our BCH capacity building project, as you know, the overall objective of this second phase of BCH capacity building is to continue assisting eligible countries in strengthening the national capabilities to effectively access and use the BCH, and also to promote regional, sub-regional collaboration, networking and exchange of experience for national and regional BCH management. One of the main components of this BCH2 project is the one related to developing BCH education materials, and these webinars are part of this second component, an important part of this second component. As you can see from our virtual learning environment, there are a lot of BCH education materials. We will go to them very shortly now. You can reach the virtual learning environment at http://moodle.bch.cbd.int. If you don't have a registered user in our platform, you can still access all the BCH public education materials there, but you can also request a username and password, sending an email to this email address, moodle@bch2project.org, stating your first name, last name, and country. Okay, here, if we go to our virtual learning environment, we can access it. As guest users or with our registered user. This is moodle.bch.cbd.int. In the first page, we will find the English training course and the other languages global training courses. And in these courses, we will find information about all the BCH education materials that are available, particularly for today's webinar, the ones related to registering information in the BCH. So, what about registering information, national information into the biosafety clearinghouse? We will see what are the kinds of information categories that can be registered into the BCH, and we see that we have some registered user requirements. So, first of all, in order to register any kind of information in the BCH, you need a registered user name. So, we can go to the biosafety clearinghouse, and you access the site at http://bch.cbd.int. This is the biosafety clearinghouse. You will see in the upper right corner of your web browser that there are two links. One says sign up for an account, and the other says sign in. If you do have a registered username, you just sign in with that registered username and the password. And if you don't, you can sign up for an account. So it is very important to understand that either you are going to register national information or you're just going to register reference information. You need to have a registered username. So it's very recommended. Also, if you want to receive news from the BCH in your email, you need to have a registered username. So how do we get a username? We can sign up for an account, click on this link, and you will see there is a profile to be filled here. You can put there your name, your last name, and particularly your country, your phone number, and your email address. And the system will send you a password to that email address. It's very important to use email addresses that you really are checking on a periodical basis, because all the messages from the system will go to that email address. Even also for the interaction between the National Authorized User and the National Focal Point, as we will see later, all the system depends on the emails. All the communications will be sent to the registered email. So once we have a registered username and password, we'll see the system, when you create your username, the system will send you to that email an initial password, and the first time you log in, the system will ask you to change it. So I already have a password here. Let me log in here with one of my emails. So when I come here, I can sign in. And okay, now I am signed in to the BCH, and you see that in the upper right hand corner the links have changed. Now you have one link for my profile, and that takes us to the same form we saw before, and one to sign out. Okay, let's continue with our presentation then. About differences between national and reference information. Remember that in the BCH we have two kinds of information that we can register. The first one is the national information. This information is just information that comes from a country. A country can be a party to the Cartagena Protocol or not, but this information is official information from the country. The other kind of information that is not specific for one country in particular is the reference information that may come from different kinds of institutions or even persons, but all of them have to have a registered user. For example, we can publish capacity building effort, we can publish news, for example, for a course in a university, and those kind of records will be reference records. We don't have to be national authorized users or national focal points to register that kind of record. In the contrary, for registering national information, you have to be a national authorized user and or a national focal point. We will see and repeat again several times, only the national focal point can validate the national official information and publish it in the BCH. So regarding the BCH, one of the main roles of the BCH national focal point is to act as a country delegate for the BCH and to validate the information that the country wants to publish in the biosafety clearinghouse according to the country's obligations under the Cartagena Protocol. That is to say, there is no other person that can validate information from the country than the national focal point. The national focal point, as you may remember, has to be appointed to the Secretariat of the Convention of Biological Diversity by a Ministry of State or the Cartagena Protocol focal point by letter to the Secretariat. Okay, going now to how we can use the national authorized users inside a country. There may be very different national biosafety framework institutional arrangements inside the different countries, and this is very important as a context. For example, we can have different setups for our ministries and other institutions related to LMOs. What are the national authorized users? What brings this thing into the BCH? These are just registered users, BCH registered users inside the country, in a country's context, that may collaborate to input national information in the BCH. They can help the national focal point in her task of registering national information. So they work in coordination with a national focal point. They may input information in the BCH, but this information will only be available once the national focal point validates it. So the responsibility is always in the hands of the national focal point. We have no limit for the amount of NAUs, national authorized users, that we can appoint in a country. And why could it be interesting for a focal point to appoint a national authorized users or several ones? Let's see some facts. The size of information to be registered in the BCH could be very large. For example, if you are going to register a risk assessment, it can take a lot of information. Decisions also are big records to be registered. This information may require the inputs from several different institutions that are geographically distributed. It is very common for countries to have several different competent national authorities, each one responsible for different aspects related to living modified organisms. And the national focal point, although is the only responsible for validating the information that will be published in the BCH, may not be a specialist in all the application fields, because here we are talking about such different things as environment or health or other kinds of impacts of the LMOs on the environment or the human health. What are some possible scenarios that we may face? For example, a country can have several competent national authorities, and we may want to appoint one or more national authorized users to help to register information or to input the information that comes from that competent national authority. And or it could exist one centralized institution that validates information for the BCH, and normally the national focal point would be located in this institution. But still, this institution and this focal point will require information provided by different agencies in the country. Or also we can have some national biosafety experts from our country that have been registered in the biosafety roster of experts, and they are performing their work, their tasks, and their assignments. And after they perform their assignments, they want to register all their mission reports, their assignment reports, and it would be good to delegate them to input that information by themselves before being validated by the focal point. A country decision on an LMO can require a lot of information from different competent national authorities. Another completely different situation that also requires some management is the situation where a country has a biosafety website that has been built using the CBD tool called Hermes, and we decided to appoint administrators and editors to handle it. We can use the same tool that we will see shortly to appoint administrators for Hermes biosafety website. And there may be other situations in which interinstitutional collaboration for BCA registering may be needed. So how can we optimize the multiple agencies BCH registering information collaborative work management? And how can we assign roles for administering and editing national biosafety websites based on Hermes to existing or new users? For that, we have the BCH Central Portal Management Center, and under it, the National Authorized Users Management. Okay, to review the things that we will see in a minute, we have the following education materials, training materials. First of all, we have in our virtual learning environment that we saw before. I'm going to the virtual learning environment. Here in the English training course, if you go to the English training course, second, the network is a bit slow. We will see several sections. The first thing that we can find interesting for this is the training manuals, and under training manuals we have a manual about registering information in the BCH Central Portal. This is the one that has a section about how to handle the authorized users. I will show it now. This manual has all the instructions for registering information, but particularly in section 4.8 you'll find a section about administration, and here you will see detailed instructions on how to handle national authorized users. We also have some exercises that we use to apply in the national and regional workshops, like for example case studies 3. And under the BCH itself, in the help section, you can find, we go to the BCH and go to the help section, we press click on help under the training materials booklet. We press on help and go to training materials, and there we can see the same kind of structure for the education materials that we have on the virtual learning environment. So there is a link to the training manuals or training modules, and there you'll find the manual about registering information on the BCH, and below that you will find also the case studies. You find the case study, and the case study 3 is the one about National Authorized Users management. One very important tool that we use for training ourselves in registering information in the BCH and also for this NAU management is the BCH training site. The BCH training site can be reached under the resources page in the BCH. You go to click on resources, and the last link is go to the BCH training site. The BCH training site is a complete copy of the BCH, but it's like a sandbox. You can do any kind of registering and deleting and editing, everything there, and it doesn't affect the real BCH. We'll come to this in a minute. So you reach the BCH training site and the resources, the last link of the main navigation bar of the BCH. So let's continue to see what are we going to do. We will develop a simple example using the BCH training site, and I wish to do a very important disclaimer now. Names of the institutions that I will say, or the persons, are completely fictitious. I will just use a sample country, anyone, to show you how to perform this kind of tasks as national focal point. So we will log in to the BCH training site. You can use your registered user, or you can also log into the real BCH site as a focal point. I will, for example, select a country. I have a login here with one of my usernames. I'm going to the training site. In the training site, you see on the right that you can select the training space. I will select just the public training space, and then you can select a government. If you select, for example, you can select any government here because it's just a training site. I will select Belize, for example. And once you select the government, you have the possibility of selecting a role. In this case, BCA focal point or National Authorized User. So you can train yourself as both roles. I will first show how to register as a focal point. So I will select National Focal Point. So now we are in the training site. We are using the public BCH training database, and I have logged in as a BCH National Focal Point. So I will see in my screens everything that a normal focal point sees on the real stuff. So here on the left side I have several links. You see Management Center, register a new record, edit a published record, edit a draft record, all the links that a normal focal point has, and we have this link in the lower part that says National Authorized Users and Role Management. This link of National Authorized Users will just appear for the national focal points. nobody else has this link in its screen. Now let's suppose that we have a certain national biosafety framework structure in order to do some practice here. We have, for example, a BCH focal point in a ministry that would be Environment Ministry, and we have several competent national authorities like Health, Agriculture, Foreign Affairs, etc. If and we are the focal point, and we want this to set up some users in each one of these competent national authorities to help us to register the information in the BCH. So how do we do that? If the users are already registered BCH users, we can assign them the roles as NAUs, and if not, we can just create them from here. We'll see that in a second. So I am here in the BCH training site again, and I have this link to National Authorized Users. I will click on that, so it will take me to National Authorized Users Management. You have several instructions there in the first page about how to manage the authorized users, and then you will see, in this case, remember that we have been logged in as a Belize for this case, and here we see that there are some already existing national authorized users. We now want to add a new authorized user. For example, so we click on the button that says add, and we can search for an email that may be already registered in the BCH or not. I will put one other email from me, that is pro019@gmail.com. Okay, put this email, for example, for people that I know from Health, and search, and this is already a registered user in the BCH. So what can I do? I can appoint this person to perform as national authorized user. So I click on proceed with nomination, and now we have this other screen, this little dialog box that says the first and last name of this person, and then it states the roles. We can now select which roles are we going to assign to this national authorized use. We can grant him this all type of records, or the rights to edit all type of national records in the BCH, or we can restrict his rights for a specific kind of information, like, for example, for contact details, laws, decisions, or for national reports. So if we click on the first link, all the other ones will be also selected. National Authorized User for all type of records. So this person will be able to edit information for laws and also for decisions and national reports. Everything that is a national record will be available for this person. If not, we could select just, for example, if we were somebody from Ministry of Foreign Affairs, maybe they are just willing to help us to register laws, for example. Okay, the other situation, well, finally, after we have selected the roles, we can press on proceed with changes. And remember that we are working on the training site, so at this moment we see this banner that says that you have already created the user, the new user, or appointed a new user. If you are working on the real BCH site, the user has been already created or appointed. You won't see this dialog box. What happens if in another situation the user does not exist yet as a registered user? So we can follow the same procedure. We go to nominate a new user. So we select, let's see, another person, another email. We search, and now we see that this person is not registered yet in the BCH. So we can proceed with the nomination anyway, and in this case it will send an email this email address. To further develop the profile, I can click on proceed with nomination, and still the same window will open, and I can assign the same kind of roles as before. And a username will be created, and the person will be able to fill all the details in her or his profile in the BCH. So it's a very straightforward process. Other possibilities that we have here is to, for the existing national authorized users, we can delete one authorized users. For example, we can delete this one here, or we can edit a national authorized user. That means to change her roles using the same window that we saw before. Regarding the Hermes administrators and Hermes website, remember that we may have developed a website, a biosafety website in our country using the tool that has been made available by the Secretariat that is called Hermes. In this case, we may want to appoint one or more administrators and editors. How do we do that? We use the same procedure than for appointing national authorized users. So we add a new user. For example, it will go again to the same one as I used before, because I know it is already there. Do search, we find it, and proceed with nomination. And here we can select Hermes administrator. For example, if we have people from different institutions that are putting information in our website, different static information in different places of our website, text, news, pictures, or whatever, we can appoint different people from different places to act as Hermes administrators. Just proceed with changes, and the procedure is exactly the same as with a national authorized user. How do we see that on Hermes? Let's take a brief look on how we see a Hermes application. Once we have our training site, our biosafety website based on Hermes. For example, this is a very an example one that is clear. It's not it has not been edited yet. So this is how it comes straight from the Secretariat. When we create a new website, we need to populate them these pages with our proper country information. But remember that with Hermes, all the BCH national information will be displayed automatically. So when we are here in this web page, we can click on that, for example, on national contacts or national focal points, and we will retrieve all the information from our country. Remember that we are doing an example for the list. But if you want to edit this thing and change, for example, the banner, and or put there some pictures, some news about local events, or static information about the ministry or whatever, we need to edit the training the Hermes application, and for that we need to sign in. You will see there is a link on the upper side, on the left upper side, that says sign in. When you press on sign in, you will be asked for your registered email, the one of the person that has been appointed as a Hermes administrator recently, and there you put your registered email. That is what is sorry, is the training admin. This will be in this case. Slash And this here is. So when you sign in, when the administrator or editor signs in here in the National Hermes application, you will see that there are a couple of different icons now in the top. We have our profile, and we have an icon for entering the edition mode and an icon for managing the files that we can upload to our website. We will have another webinar specific to Hermes edition and administration in the next weeks. So, but I wanted just to show you how to appoint an editor or administrator and how to start editing the Hermes application. Okay, so some important things about the interaction between the national focal point and the national authorized users. First of all, remember again that the email address that you use to register yourself as a focal point and the one for the national authorized users is very important for this system to function smoothly, because all the communication will be sent to those addresses. So we will quickly see how to register information as a national authorized user and how does the user send it to the focal point for validation. Also, we have some kind of question, what can the focal point do if the information is not complete or correct? And when will this information be published in the BCH? The national authorized user, let's go to, I have here a national authorized user. In the screen you will see again, I will go to the training site and I will log on here in the same public space. Sorry. Government, we will select Belize, and I will train here as a national authorized user. So in this screen you will see I am logged in the BCH as a national authorized user, BCH training site, and I have the possibility of registering several kind of records, national records, and also I will have the possibility of registering reference records because I am a BCH registered user. You see that I don't have here in my left menu the possibility of users management because I'm not the focal point. So if I want to register a new record, for example, remember I am an authorized user that and I will help the focal point to register. So I will input the information and then send it to the focal point for her to validate the records and publish in the BCA. So for example, if we wanted to register a national record, like let's quickly see competent national authority, that's not a big one. We click on the corresponding link, competent national authority, and we are driven now to the page for completing the information for a competent national authority. So we can create, the country is already here, we can create the number, the competent national authority. We have to put the name of health. Let's do it very quickly. City, for example, as it would be Belmo Bank. Country is already stated. In the training site I can change that, but in the normal site it will be already set up for us. I select the country, a phone number. The fields that are marked with an asterisk are the ones that are mandatory. I need to complete all of them if I want the record to be published. If not, the system will not allow me to publish it or to send it to the PC, to the focal point to publish. Let's put a dummy address, email address. Contact person, I can select a contact person here from the list, or I can create a new contact person. I can press on review. The review button will check if all the mandatory fields have been completed. So I press on review and I see there are some mandatory fields that I haven't completed yet, so I can go straight to them. For example, the administrative functions, I will press on all functions related to the Cartagena protocol, and all types of organisms. So I think that now this record is complete. I will save changes, and once I click on Save Changes, I have this new screen that says Submit for publishing or Save as a draft. If I want to continue working tomorrow or next week on this record because I haven't had the time to complete it now, I can just save it as a draft and I will see it later on my drafts box, and I will be able to continue editing. If I want to send it for validation for the focal point, I just press the button that says Submit for publishing. Once I do it, you will see that if the information is complete, you will have the next screen that says validation request. So now this record is in the hands of the national focal point. You see here that is pending approval. So what happens now? If the focal point, when the focal point goes to the system, one note here, it's very important. Now that the National Authorized User has submitted the record for the focal point, in the real system, you as a focal point will receive an email and you will have a link, and when you click on that link, you will be directed straight to the place in the BCH to do your task. That is the one that I will show now on the training side. Now I will show you how would it look another screen where I am the national focal point. Sorry, this one. I have to open a different browser in order to be able to do this in the training site. In this other screen, I am the BCH focal point for Belize, and in the real system I have already received an email with a link to the things that I have to do. In this case, when I go to the management center, I see my inbox, and I see here that I have a record pending approval, and it says the description is competent national authority, the status says pending approval, that means I have to do something with it, and this is the name of who generated this record, who was the National Authorized User that created this record. So I just can click on it. I click on the record as a focal point now, and I see that we have here the status of the record that says, again, pending approval, but I have the possibility of approve it, of cancel it, or of request changes. If I approve it, it will be made published immediately. If I request changes, let's see what happens when I request changes. If I request changes, we have this dialog box where I can give some message to the National Authorized User that that register this information. For example, please state a complete telephone number, and or any other details. This is just an example. I press continue, and at this time the record goes back to the National Authorized User. You see now that in the screen, in our screen as national focal points, we see it as changes requested, and in the real system the National Authorized User would receive an email with a link the record in order, and to the messages. If we now change again and show the screen of the National Authorized User, when the National Authorized User receives the email, it's like the same as going to the registering information page. She or he will see in the inbox this entry that says changes requested. And now the user can edit this record, complete the requested changes, and submit it again to the focal point. The focal point on its side can again request for more changes, or can publish directly the record, and it will be visible in the BCH. The last alternative that the focal point has is to cancel completely. We can, if we want to cancel, that means we will delete completely all the information related to that record. That is a very serious thing, because the record may be a very long, like a record, like a risk assessment. So it must be handled with care. That's why the system will ask you for confirmation a couple of times before finally deleting the record. Okay. In the next webinars, we will be developing all the specific registering information procedures and this interaction between the focal point and the National Authorized User. In order to just to review this this process, I hope you are seeing this screen rather well. It's a bit small, but this is a diagram that you can find in the BCH Registering Information Manual. That is the flow of information, and a flow diagram of all the activities between when you are a user for the BCH and you perform as a National Authorized User or as a focal point. You, if you have an account, you access the registering information page. You log in to the system, and then if you are going to register information as a national information, for example, here, you can be an NAU or you can be a focal point. If you are an NAU, you input information and then submit it for validation to the focal point, and once the focal point validates, the information goes public. If you, on the other side, you are just a focal point, when you press on publish, it goes straight to the web. Okay, let's continue now. So, what have we seen until now? We have been introducing the registering information processes and the national focal point role. You remember that the national focal point is appointed by a Ministry of State or the Cartagena Protocol focal point, and is our delegate in the BCH for validating national information. We have seen that National Authorized Users are registered BCH users that can be appointed to help us as focal points to input information in the BCH. We also have seen that in our virtual learning environment and in the BCH help system, we have a complete manual about registering information that has all the instructions that we have been seeing in this webinar. We also have in the webinars website in our virtual learning environment, where this very webinar will be published in probably this afternoon. We have done an exercise about how to appoint different kinds of National Authorized Users and HERMES administrators, and we have seen very quickly how is the flow of information between the authorized users and the focal point. So I have covered all the items in our agenda. I would like to hear your questions now. I think that you may have several different questions about these national authorized users and structures, national biosafety framework structures also related to them. So the floor is open. You please raise your hand so I can give you the microphone. Hello, is there any question? Okay, I see no questions for this webinar, so we will finish now. This presentation and the video will be available on our webinars website very shortly. We will have some other webinars about registering information in the Biosafety Clearinghouse in the next weeks, and you will be notified in the usual way. Thank you very much for attending this webinar, and hope to see you in the next ones. Good afternoon, good morning to everybody.